Inside the Magic, covering Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Universal Studios, and more.
Welcome back, everybody, to the second part of the press conference. I tried something out with you. Thank you for being there with me. Let's get this bad boy started. Everybody, I'm Gray Drake, back for part two. Please help me welcome our guests. Tim Burton, executive producer and director. Colin Farrell. Nico Parker. Finley Hobbins. Eva Green. Danny DeVito. And Michael Keaton. No problem, guys. No pressure.
Yes! Look at that.
There we go.
Look at it. And he didn't fall this time.
No, he didn't.
Look at that.
Oh, God, Michael.
Jesus.
He's such a clown.
Has anyone noticed how much Beto O'Rourke loves having a hand mic? He just loves having a hand mic.
Is he in the movie? Who's that?
Beto.
Beto.
Yeah.
Beto O'Rourke.
You mean that guy?
The guy running,
The politician?
It's going well so far, isn't it?
Gee. Oh, my.
Sorry, I saw a hand mic and it just reminded me.
Welcome to the DeVito and Keaton show, where pratfalls are a thing.
I'll tell you another thing that I noticed.
Where's Barbara?
You guys, speaking of performance, there's something that this movie really illuminated for me, which is watching performers is magic. Can we just go down the line, starting with you, Tim? Yeah, I'm looking at you. Just which performer in a circus do you love the most? Which of you identified with the most, if there is one?
A real circus.
Yeah.
None of it. I mean, it's funny. I made like circus movies, but I never really liked the circus. But I like the idea of it. I like the idea that sort of concept when you were a child of running away to the circus. It was a sort of just a phrase that sort of stuck with a lot of people. And I think that's the idea of not the circus per se, but the idea of being with a bunch of other weird people from around the world that can't get regular jobs. You know, that kind of a person.
Colin, was there a performer that you always loved more than the others?
No, I've never seen a circus. I've never.
Never? Except in the world of Tim
Except
Burton?
in the world of Tim Burton's imagination coming to a cinema near you. Maybe a seal.
Fair enough.
Because I used to play football.
Nico, what about you?
I think probably the contortionists. Like when they climbed on top of each other, it was because I could never do any of that. I just thought all of it was incredible. And then the cake top dances as well. Because I got to watch that really recently. That was cool.
Awesome. Finley?
Probably the jugglers, because you have an excuse if you go wrong. You can throw stuff at people's faces.
Finley!
That's the best reason that I've ever heard. Eva, what about you?
I mean, me, I would have to say trapeze people, aerialist. I've always been petrified of heights, like a real phobia. And thanks to Mr. Tim Burton, I've overcome my fear. I trained.
Anybody needs any help with any problems? You don't like clowns, heights, anything? I'm out in the lobby after the show.
Danny, how about you?
I really love the aerialist, the high wire, tightrope walkers. They really astound me. So it's balance and grace and daring and all the things that I lack. Okay.
All the things that you're known for, Danny.
It's this.
You've seen the film. They have not yet.
They have.
Oh, the snake. No, actually, I could be the snake. Not the snake handler, the snake. I'm with him, the aerialist, and Eva. First of all, more than anything is what I want to do is fly. That would be it for me. I have those flying dreams. And I say that like I think everybody has a flying dream. But
I think that's
a
relatively
comment. That
accurate.
is. But the aerialists do knock me out, and all that stuff, and the trapeze artist, yeah.
You end up flying in movies, actually, more than most performers, too.
Name one.
Self-promotion.
No, go ahead.
Mr. Mom is what I was thinking.
Well, all right, besides that one. No, name one, because I know where you're going, and Tim and I are ready for this. Go ahead.
Can you talk about what it's like to work with Tim Burton on
I can, but here's the deal. If you're going to say Batman...
It's like my own funeral. Let me leave the room.
Batman.
I know you hate this part, sorry.
All the way back to you now. Everybody
Yeah, let's take
has
it back to
say
Tim.
something. I think he's brilliant. I think he's just a genius, and I like his artistry. It's just astounding. And you give a talented person like Tim a subject like Dumbo with all the great meaning and messages and metaphors. And what does he do? He sends it off into the stratosphere, and he's one of a kind, and he's just amazing, and we love him so much, and we like to see him squirm.
Lush.
Come on, I got to be buried in like 5 minutes, so wrap it up, will you?
It's true. I'm sorry. You're going to get sick of this. It's a rare thing to work with an original and to be in the thick of it, to be right in the middle of piece art. Really, we do have to stop this now because he is getting sick of this. But it's true. It's absolutely true.
But there's only 4 or 5 more people left. Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah,
Now
this
you
will
go,
really
Eva.
fast. This is no problem. Let's talk about actually you two being the newbies. This is basically your first films, right, you guys?
Yeah.
So you kind of had Colin Farrell there to shepherd you, which seems really fortunate.
No shepherding needed, trust me.
No, he was.
Nico be like, Colin, you're 2 feet off your mark.
I did that, yeah.
And so what was your first day on set like? Finley, what take us back to that.
Well, I can't really remember much from the first day, but with Nico, I remember one of the first days of filming. We were in our costumes, and we were just going in for like a costume check, and then we would have done, I think, one of the first scenes. And then Danny walked past, and we just stood there, and it was 5 seconds, and each second felt literally like an eternity of just going, hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? And then we met Colin, and then Eva, and then Michael, and then Tim, and it was just terrifying each time the first time. But then we.
So seeing you're spending time with Danny DeVito is like an eternity. Great.
Yeah.
Response? Tim, let's talk about why Dumbo. What do you love about Dumbo?
I mean, I just liked, it was just the idea of it, the idea of a flying elephant, a character that doesn't quite fit into the world, and how, somebody with a disadvantage makes it an advantage. So it just felt very close to the way I felt about things, and it was just a very pure, simple image that, like all the great old Disney fables had that kind of simple symbolism for real emotions.
There are so many things that this story expands on, because the original, we were talking earlier, is only 60 minutes long. So what were some of your ideas as to, working with Aaron Kruger on how to kind of...
Well, I just like the fact that it's obviously a very simple fable, very simple story at its heart about family and what I liked about it was the human parallel story. This character Holt, who comes back from the war, doesn't have an arm, doesn't have a wife, doesn't have a job, doesn't have is trying to find his place in the world. And all of the characters actually are in that way. Nico's character, they want to be something, she wants to be something else. Every character in it, Eva is not, everybody is trying to find their place in the world, like Dumbo, and in using disadvantage to advantage. So lots of nice themes, but in a very simple framework.
Colin, you've already said that there was no shepherding necessary for your movie kids. What were you doing on this film?
As little as possible, knowing that much of the work was done for me and around me.
He was lassoing dogs on his off tracks.
Lassoing pink poodles. You're safe, don't worry about it. I said poodles, not humans. Yes, indeed. And I left my rope at home. Moving on swiftly. I mean, you know, I was playing, as Tim was saying, I think everyone in the character is at odds with either their past or what's going on in the present or both. And so I was playing a father who was disenfranchised from his kids, disenfranchised from a life that he left behind that's completely different by the time he comes back from fighting in the First War. He's physically a different man. He's lost his left arm. He's seen a lot of brutality. I mean, we don't get into all that psychological stuff so heavy because we want the film to be able to be received with the importance of the messages that are in it rather than hitting them all over the head. But my character's journey was one in just accepting his position as father and how that meant that all he had to do really was get out of his children's way and let them be who they are.
Tim, you mentioned briefly that this is, the Dumbo is about kind of leaving behind things that other people might perceive as a weakness and turning it into a strength. So I was thinking about a journey as an artist. Seems like it could be something similar. Eva, do you think that that applies to your work at all? Do you identify with that theme?
Feeling like an outsider? Right now, I do. Yeah, I mean, I think you don't have to be an artist to feel like an outsider. I think everybody has felt at some point kind of a bit strange or different, and yeah, it's a big thing. It's such a wonderful movie because it has that message of like, you know, it's okay to be, you know, strange or different. It's actually great. It makes you special, and we just have to embrace our uniqueness.
Can you expand on the training that you did in order to conquer, first of all, conquer your fear of heights, but also to be this performer in the circus so elegantly?
Yeah, I mean, I had the most amazing circus people who were very patient, very kind with me, because I was absolutely petrified. I thought I would never be able to do that. And so, yeah, for like 2 months, every day, I trained, you know, and you need like a very strong core as well. Have very strong abs, very strong arms, and then little by little, I went higher and higher and higher, and that was amazing. I found a trick. It was to sing as well, to really in French, like whoa, you know, off you go, and you swear and you sing, and I surprised myself. It was a miracle. Yeah.
But you absolutely look like you were born to be on a trapeze. I mean, it was just amazing.
In fact, we have one set up here now, everyone. It's a little surprise.
Hey, okay, let's hoist her up.
We spent a long time doing it, so might as well.
All right, I want to make sure we leave plenty of time for questions, so let's get these mics circulating. Right there, miss? That mic's coming right to you.
Hi, this is such a beautiful film. I'd like to know, what do you hope for the whole panel kids will take away from seeing this movie?
The same thing adults take away for it, the importance of, you know, not just accepting the inherent difference that people have from each other in relation to each other, but celebrating it, you know. I just think there, as Tim was saying, there are simple messages that are very complex, it seems, to live in as we go on through our lives, and those messages are messages of kindness and inclusion and all those kind of things, so that'd be cool. Or else, if they're just entertained for a couple of hours, I'll take that as well.
But also just with like the Disney movies, for me, the reason I wanted to do it was like the old Disney movies had all these elements, you know, they had joy, they had humor, they had, okay, let's go 9 rounds, okay. What was I talking about?
Joy,
Oh, yeah.
joy.
Well, death, you know, everything, you know, stuff that are taboo subjects, but
You skipped so deftly from joy and humor to death.
did I emphasize that one too much? No.
Two sides of the
movies
same
always
coin.
had the mixture of those things, and so, like Colin was saying, we tried to present these things without overdoing it in a fable-like way, but then let it present itself and not just sort of dictate it, and just show these people for what they're going through and who they are.
Mr. Burton, I'm a huge fan of your work. I love, it's a dream to speak to you, but I was wondering what draws you to a performer or an artist? What qualities do you look for, because you often work with the same actors? I know, these, especially these 3 beauties on the end. What draws you to a performer or artist?
Well, it's very simple, and in this particular case, it's a few things.
Oh yeah, they gotta hear you say they all look weird.
Oh,
Go ahead.
well, there's a point because Dumbo, it's a heightened reality. So for me, there's two different things. There was one, because it's a weird story about weird family, it was very special to me to work with, people like that I've worked with, Michael, Eva, Danny, and Colin. I feel like I've worked with him for many years because he's got the same kind of spirit. And meeting Nico and Finley, everybody, and Alan Arkin, having like a family, a weird dysfunctional family, like a film is, and like the movie Circus is, was just very beautiful and important. And the spirit of all of them really meant the world to me in terms of what the movie is and the spirit that they all put into it. And because it's like a weird elephant, I had one thing in the back of my mind, all the people had to look kind of weird. Naturally. Which they did. In a good way.
Yeah. And coming from an actual dysfunctional family, I felt like I fit right.
Yeah. It was like Thanksgiving dinner.
Huge fan, loved this film. Have to ask Michael and Danny, so good to see you guys back on screen together. What was it like coming back together to perform, but in kind of an opposite role?
Yeah, it was great. That was really terrific. When Tim called a year ago or whatever it was and said he was making the movie, I was really thrilled to be able to be part of it. And then, the joy factor went up through the roof when I heard that Michael was in it with me, and because we're
part of the
good
joy
buddies.
factor was the first thing he reminded me was he got to be the hero and I got to be the bad guy. He was just thrilled with that.
It's once in a while. How's it feel to be the bad guy? Him in the mask and the whole Batman thing. I mean, it's just getting too much for me. And and me always being the gross penguin, grunting and groaning and stuff. I was really so nice to be with him in the movie, and everybody who's in the movie with us all together. Like Tim says, this great family that he creates, and he is the, we're all the weirdos, but there is one really weird daddy, down the end who's like pulling all the strings. So we're thrilled to be together.
Welcome to the island of misfit toys.
Fantastic job, everyone. Eva, this question is for you. I know that you just spoke about training. I want to know exactly, well, maybe it's actually for both Tim and Eva, how much of your performance was you actually doing the stunt in comparison to what was maybe either CGI'd or maybe a stunt double? How much of that was actually Eva?
Well, she did mostly everything. I mean, there was a couple of times when the person she works with did things, but no. Oh.
Microphone.
I wasn't saying anything interesting, but no, Eva did everything. She works, I mean, nobody really knows is that people working on the movie how hard she worked at it, and she could do everything. I mean, there were certain cases where a person did it for her, but, that's the amazing thing about her. She was doing it. And there was a couple of times that she couldn't do it for
yes, and we had
reasons.
my stunt double was Catherine Arnold. She's just the most amazing aerialist. She was my teacher as well, and she was very patient, and I'm just in awe of the circus people because they work so hard. They're so dedicated, and they train and train. They're ready to sacrifice themselves almost. They kind of because they constantly have to overcome their fear as they put themselves in mortal danger. And actors were nothing compared to those kind of superheroes.
While we're talking about CG, can we talk about what Dumbo was actually represented by on set? Because I'm having trouble believing he's not real.
Ed. Yeah.
Yeah, Ed was
He looked like a weird insect, but he had this green suit on and it was extended leg. But Ed was amazing because he actually studied elephants and movements. So, you guys, You remember Ed, don't you?
Yeah, we bullied Ed.
He was great, but he really got into like the feel and movements of elephants, even though he looked like a weird insect. But so we had help.
Well, they did give him an awful hard time because it was unavoidable. He was dressed in a green spandex suit for the guts of 5 months.
You guys got really close with Ed, right?
Yeah, because we were with him like the whole time. And then like I think midway through, we found out that he was in Tarzan and could do like the ape walk. Oh my, we made
took
him do
such
it
advantage
so
of
many
that.
times.
So when we first found out, we were like, oh yeah, it's cool. And then we were like, okay, do it. And then we were like, do it again, do it again, do it again. And then we were like, teach us how to do it, teach us how to do it. And that went on for about a couple weeks, maybe. No, we were like quite harsh on us, yeah.
In my scenes, I didn't use Ed.
Tell me more.
I used Daniel Day-Lewis to come in do the scenes for me.
You're gonna see that in the papers, and it's gonna be your fault.
No, he's a friend. I asked if he'd come in and somebody could.
I mean, we all know about his acting process too, so I'm sure
That's
that
my
was
point.
something to really behold.
That's my point.
Tim, do you see this movie as a companion piece to Edward Scissorhands, another outsider?
I mean, I don't, not necessarily, except the fact is that theme comes up because I can't help it, you know what I mean? It's like part of your DNA. So it's not that I consciously think about that, but you know, it's just, you know, once you're branded that way, no matter how you feel, that's what, you know, so that's the themes that keep reoccurring to you because that's.
It was Michael Keaton's wig in this movie.
Yeah. Well, no, I was eating Kentucky Fried Chicken one day, and I was looking at the tin, and we go, hey. But I think after the Batman thing, right, Michael, that's why I didn't talk to him for 20 years. He didn't want to put that damn suit back on, you know, like. So, for the character of this one, it was like maximum, like, well, my character, because he didn't like ties, so his character wouldn't wear a tie, right? Yeah. Like, great stuff, but all for the character. And he was great. You know, you put on clothes, and we did that on Beetlejuice. Like you try things on, and then you become like a character.
Yeah. I regret the wig in a lot of ways because it's so great and weird and odd and kind of off-putting, but and so well done. So what happened was I thought about it and I thought, man, I really don't like sitting in the makeup chair for very long, or hair and makeup, I just don't like to be there. So I thought, I'm not gonna say anything. And he didn't say anything, but once I showed up and Colin Atwood is an unbelievable genius, as is truly Daniel Day-Lewis. No, I mean that. That's a supreme compliment. This guy probably, if I called him, he'd probably go, yeah, I'm in. I'd probably do that. She's so unbelievable. So when I showed up and Tim was there and he and I and Colleen were starting to, that's where you really start, and I'll bet Danny and Colin and everyone here will bear me out. That's where you really go from here to here with your character a lot of times. Once you feel the clothes and you start walking around in it, I remember in Johnny Dangerously, I immediately knew where to go when I started getting the. So when I was there and I had in the back of my head, I thought, oh man, I'm not gonna mention the wig. Don't mention the wig. Don't say anything about a wig. And as soon as I said, hey, this is probably a dumb idea. What do you think about a wig? And his eyes lit up and I thought, shh, God, now I gotta wear this stupid wig. But I dug the wig, and the wig was now has its own agent, by the way.
It's weird because it's like one of those ones you buy like on Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's like weird.
Yeah.
And but I put it on, and I actually felt really better as a person. Weird.
Right there. The microphone is coming down towards you. Everybody just really ponder that wig. Why don't you go ahead first?
Edgar Caballero from Moda Hollywood. For Tim, what was the biggest challenge as a director and producer in working on Dumbo?
Well, I think the weirdest thing on this movie was you have all these great people. Oh, sorry. You have all these great actors. The biggest challenge, I guess, was you have all these people. You have amazing sets. Colleen, Rick, the art director, amazing. The only thing that's missing is the main character. You know, that's a very, very unnerving thing to kind of be going into something and you know what you want, you know what you're trying to go for. You can even see rough animation, but until it materializes, it's scary. You know, you just don't know. And so all these people are suspending disbelief for everything to make the main character there and believable. So I think that was the biggest challenge. And like I said, Dumbo just arrived about a week ago, you know, finally.
Thank you. Is this on? Oh, yeah. Big fan, Michael. My question is, he brought it up a little bit about Beetlejuice. Your character, for some reason, very much reminded me of Beetlejuice.
The character in this movie?
Yeah. Did you, by chance, go back and were inspired by Beetlejuice for this character?
No, that's a lightning in a bottle kind of thing, I think, deal, that movie. That's unique. No, not really. There are probably certain things, I guess, Danny would probably feel the same way since we've worked with Tim before. There are probably certain things that you kind of just click into immediately right away, just in terms of sensibilities. But no, not really. I do like, you know, going to extremes, and so anytime you're with Tim, there's always that likelihood that you're gonna go to some kind of extreme, you know, in a look or something like that.
Did Daniel Day-Lewis advise you to go extreme also? Right back there. Right next to you, actually, yeah.
Thanks, great. Question for you, Tim, a technical question. In developing the sound that Dumbo makes, that squeak and that cadence and pattern, and also working with Ben Davis, your cinematographer, in creating the reflective look that we have with what Dumbo sees in the reflection, and then reversing that with the fisheye to give us the vertigo and Dumbo's perspective. So I'm curious how you developed those.
Well, okay, what was the first part again?
First was about the sound that Dumbo makes, developing that.
Obviously what we did sound, right. That's a good connection there. Well, thank you. Can I have a tin can with some string? You know, we just, in fact, that just kept developing. We had a whole array of sounds, you know what I mean? And just varying, you know, bass, upper, lower, all that sort of stuff. And we just tried to, you know, give him a voice without him speaking, you know, like you see with animals and things where, you know, there's a connection. It's not the exact human-human connection, but that kind of thing. So, you know, that's just part of his character, and it was just developing up till even a few weeks ago. So, you know, we've been playing with that for a long period of time. And then, you know, just the Dumbo, you know, because it's his movie, his character, you know, we tried to give it so you felt like you're with him and you're in his point of view and you're with him and being in the experience with him. And the sort of Dumbo vision is probably based on the fact of seeing too many science fiction movies with alien vision, you know. It came from outer space.
Can you pass that mic just behind you?
Hi, this is for Tim. The separation between Dumbo and his mother remind me the separation at the border from children and parents. It was something that came on your mind when you created the scene?
Well, I think any family situation, you know, I mean, but every family is different. Like, you know, I'm different. For me, I wish I'd been separated from my parents, but that's a different story. But you know, most people would go, yeah, you know, you want to separate anybody from your parents, except me, but that's fine. So, I think about things just more in a spiritual, simple way. You know, you know, there's news, and I listen to the news and everything, but I always take things from a more, like, I try to anyway, a human point of view that way, and you know, because it's like a fable, and all great fables tap into things that are true about today and human nature and all things, but it's not literal, you know. And that's all these people. It's a period movie. It's a fable. It touches on all these things, but we try not to make it like ripped from today's headlines, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Well, I mean, the movie was made in 1941, and in 1941, if you remember the movie, the 63-minute Disney movie masterpiece from that era, the baby was separated from his mom. So I don't think it has anything to do with this unfortunate, horrifying thing that's going on in our current news.
Two separate things, but I'm just going to say this. Thanks for bringing it up. Keep it in the consciousness, because it's criminal, it's cruel, and I don't think it borders on child abuse. I think it does. It is.
Right there? Let's send the mic right back to you.
Hey there. Rich Woloski, Skywalking Through Neverland. I had a question for Mr. Burton. First of all, huge fan of your work. Now, is it me, or did I see Dumbo cast a bat signal shadow on their circus tent?
I think that might be you. And there's a doctor at the back who was after
I've
the
already
show.
seen him.
Thank you very much.
A for effort, though.
I mean, but you'd be surprised, but also you'd be surprised how some subliminal things come into all sorts of things. So, yeah, possible.
Maybe it was the Pee Wee Herman shadow.
Right in the back there? Oh, the mic's on the wrong side. We're working on it. It's all about the mic today, you guys. It's all about that mic.
Thank you. It's a great film. I really enjoyed it. But I have to ask this. When I look at the poster in back of you, it's bold, bright pictures, but the palette of the film is very dark. Can you address that?
Here we go
Well,
again.
maybe you saw a bad print of the film because a dark print. No, well, I mean, look, I can't hear or see, but to me, this has it's very bright to me.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know. What about you guys?
Yeah, no, I actually.
Mad splashes of color.
See, I don't know what I'm talking about because I've been like things that's light, it's too light, it's too dark. How can some light and too dark?
I think there's a tonal shift throughout the film. I think the first half of it is more in keeping with this, and then it gets a bit darker with the introduction
It's like
of
weirder
Michael's
colors.
character. You know, the color palette changes in Dreamland. It becomes a bit more oppressive, a bit more dark, a little bit more sincere, even though it's beautiful and even more elaborate than what we came from. There's a weight to it, and then at the end, it ends up, you know, where it ends up. But I don't think that's.
And then, you know, at the end,
Film is 24 frames a second, and
I feel we should get onto the marketing department.
I understand that the way film works, half of the time you're in the dark. Marketing.
That's right. That's right.
That's exactly it. 24 frames a second. That shutter opens and closes. So half of the time you're in that theater, you're in the dark.
Exactly.
And looking out at this bunch, I think you belong there.
It's physically the most beautiful movie I've ever been in. I'm just going to say that. It's unbelievably gorgeous, if you ask me.
Back in the corner there?
My question is for Mr. DeVito.
Thank you very much.
There has been a lot of discussion about how there's a sort of eccentric troupe in the narrative of the film and on stage right now.
Very eccentric.
I'm curious, as the ringleader, was any of your performance based on Mr. Burton?
Oh, well, everything I do in the movie is basically fed to me through the insane mind of Mr. Burton. I mean, I feel like, I felt really great to be Max Medici and be part of this insane family. The great thing is that it is a family, and it is, Max trying to keep everything together and keep all the elements up in the air. Tim just works 24/7 when he's making a movie, keeping everything going, keeping the plate spinning, keeping all the balls in the air, keeping everything moving, all the moving parts congealing, everything going together. So I feel like he's an inspiration when we're on the set and pushes you to new heights.
And making Tim Burton uncomfortable is how we're going to end this today. Thank you so much. Please help me thank Tim Burton, Colin Farrell, Nico Parker, Finley, Hobbins, Eva Green, Danny DeVito, and Michael Keaton.